We are almost through Ninja 9, and Success Habit 8 is the one that ties everything else together. Let's talk about scheduling 50 live interviews weekly. In chapter 28 of the book Ninja Selling, a live interview is described as a real two-way conversation, face to face or over the phone. They're called interviews because your job in these conversations is to ask forward questions and listen for change. If completing a live interview as a phone call, you start on forward, discuss the purpose of the call, and end on forward. You're always listening, always paying attention to what's shifting in their life. As you work through success habits 4 through 7 each week, focus on your hot and warm lists, your customer service calls, and your real estate reviews. You should be updating the last conversation field in PulsePoint HQ after every two-way conversation you have. Every single one of those conversations count toward your 50 live interviews weekly. That's the connection. These Ninja 9 habits aren't separate from habit number 8. They're feeding directly into it every single day. If you'd like a deeper look at how any of those habits work inside PulsePoint HQ, check out our dedicated videos on the hot and warm lists, customer service calls, and real estate reviews. Our goal is to track your progress. So I want to make sure we're counting everything because live interviews don't only happen at your desk or when you're making scheduled calls. Whenever you actually get to visit with someone in person, that counts. When you deliver a pop-by gift or you run into someone from your database at church or a community event, perhaps you're chatting with another parent at a kid's sporting event or bump into a past client while you're out running errands. All of it counts. Any two-way conversation with someone in your database is a live interview. But some of those conversations happen when you're not in front of your computer. So here's what I recommend. At the end of every workday, take a few minutes to think back through your day. Who did you speak with in person today? Who did you have a phone call with when you were in the car driving? Log into PulsePoint HQ and update the last conversation field for every one of those people. Add any notes from those conversations that you want to remember for next time. Something new you learned, something they mentioned, a follow-up you want to make. Do this consistently and your live interview count will reflect the full picture of everything you're actually doing, not just the calls you made when sitting at your desk. This is also an excellent opportunity to intentionally think about new acquaintances that should be added to your database. Here's something equally important that can't get lost in the process of logging those conversations. You're asking forward questions. You're listening for change. And sometimes in the middle of one of those conversations, someone says something that signals a move maybe on the horizon, a job change, a growing family, or they mention they've been thinking about downsizing. That's the moment. When you hear that kind of change, don't just update the last conversation field. Also go to the contacts tags and add them to your warm list or hot list depending on how close to transacting they are. That's how your warm and hot list stays current and accurate, tagging them in the moment while the details are still fresh in your mind. Update the last conversation field, record your notes, and if you heard change, tag them to your hot or warm lists. Those actions together are what keep your database working for you every single day. So, you're updating the last conversation field consistently. You're tagging contacts to your hot and warm lists when you hear change. That's great. But here's the question you need to be able to answer at any point during the week. Are you actually on track to hit 50 live interviews? To find out, from your contacts page, open the filter options, select last conversation, and filter to contacts whose last conversation was less than 7 days ago. Hit enter. The number of contacts that appear is your current live interview count. That's where you stand right now as of the last 7 days. Now, there are two ways to think about hitting that 50 weekly goal. The first is a rolling 7-day approach. At any given moment, your goal is to have 50 contacts in that filtered list, meaning you've had a live conversation with each of them sometime in the last 7 days. This approach doesn't reset on a specific day of the week. You're simply always aiming to keep that number at 50 on a rolling basis. Well, at 50 or above. The second is a day-by-day approach. With this method, you break down the goal across your work week. Aim for roughly 10 live interviews per day, Monday through Friday. Check in each morning. If yesterday you hit 8, today you need to push a little harder to catch up. By Friday, you're at 50. If the weekend brings additional conversations, great. That's just extra. Either way works. The important thing is that you're actually checking that filter regularly, not just assuming you're on track. When you can see the number, you can manage it. If you're ahead, great. If you're falling behind, you still have time to adjust your outreach and close the gap before the week is out. Let's say you've completed your hot list, warm list, customer service calls, and real estate reviews for the week, and you're still short of 50. Now what? This is where chapter 31 of Ninja Selling comes in. The book is clear that the bulk of your database should receive at least one live interaction, face-to-face or over the phone, once per quarter. That standard gives you a clear way to identify exactly who needs a call. In PulsePoint HQ, we'll use 2 filters to identify those contacts. First, no conversation on record. Filter your contacts by last conversation and choose contacts with no conversation saved at all. These are people who have never had a recorded live interview with you. They are your first priority for calling. Second, last conversation more than 90 days ago. Ninja Selling recommends that every contact in your database with a relationship status of A, B, or C receives at least one live interaction, face-to-face or over the phone, once per quarter. The contacts showing up in this filter haven't spoken with you in 3 months and are now due for you to reach out. Work through both of these lists. Pick up the phone, check in, ask forward questions, listen for change. Every live conversation gets recorded in the last conversation field, and every one of those conversations counts toward your 50 for the week. And remember, if you hear something in those conversations that signals a move may be coming, tag them to your warm or hot list right then and there. Before we wrap up, I want to give you a quick preview of Habit 9. Update your database weekly. And one of my favorite ways to increase your live interview count while also getting something else done is using database updates as a reason to call. If you ever find yourself thinking, I just don't know what to call about, the next video is going to solve that for you. You can do double duty. Update your database and count those conversations towards your live interviews for the week at the same time. Join me in the next video and I'll show you exactly how. See you there.